Hi there everyone, it's Jeanette here from Enthusiastic Gardener, and today I'm so delighted because I'm joined by the beautiful Rachel from Gardening at Douentza, and Rachel has about an acre's garden over in the County of Wexford in Southern Ireland, which is funnily enough right next to the county where my mum's family comes from, which is Waterford. And we decided that we would do a collaboration together to highlight the different foliage colours. So in the garden, as you probably know, what I try to do is plant foliage that covers the red, yellow, green, blue, silver and variegated foliages in the garden, and to me that is appealing to see all the different colours. So Rachel and I were talking and we decided that we would each have a video on our channels with our favourites in each of the coloured foliage choices. So Rachel has chosen 6 plants on my channel here today, and then when you've watched my channel, please head over to her channel, Gardening at Douentza. We have another 6. So basically we've each chosen 2 of each colour for you, which hopefully will give you some good ideas of things that you might like to see in your gardens. So without further ado, I'm going to start with my red selections. And my first of my reds is this right here, and it is called an Ageratina Altissima chocolate. Very, very beautiful. Eventual height will be about 1 metre by about half a metre wide. It's a perennial and it will die back to below the ground every autumn, and then it will have fresh new growth each spring. It likes partial shade and it has tiny white flower heads July to September, very attractive to pollinators. And as you can see, it's got a beautiful bronzy chocolate foliage. So that's the first of mine, the Ageratina Altissima chocolate. Now let's go over and meet the wonderful Rachel.
Hello Jeanette and Jeanette subscribers. I'm delighted to take part in this collab all about how we can make our gardens look colourful even before you add flowers into the equation. I'm Rachel from Gardening at Douentza YouTube channel, and today I'm going to talk about some of my favourite foliage plants, those with green, silver, yellow, purple red, blue and variegated foliage. Now, you may not be familiar with my channel, so you should know that I'm in Southern Ireland, 77 miles south of Dublin. That's 124 kilometres, and I garden in what roughly equates to as zone 9. We don't have the zone system here in Ireland, but yeah, in terms of hardiness, that's what it is. My garden is an acre in size and I open to groups by appointment. Now, I did love your choice there, Jeanette. That plant used to be known to me as Eupatorium chocolate, and I loved it so much I bought it twice, but it died on me on both occasions, so obviously I was doing something wrong. Anyway, if you want to see what my favourite red purple foliage plant is, we're going to have to head down just here, where it's over here on the left. Oops, nearly lost my composure there. We'll call that the comedy interlude. Anyway, this is my favourite plant, my favourite purple foliage plant, well, one of them anyway, and it's this gorgeous one called Red Dragon, and you can see how tall it is. So I'm about 5 foot and it's nearly as tall as I am. It's a Persicaria, and Persicarias get such a bad rap generally. People equate them with knotweed, but I can tell you that this is such a well-behaved plant. Now, there are about 131 species of Persicaria and I suppose hundreds of cultivars, and this one, Red Dragon, has got to be up there. First of all, it's extremely well behaved. So it's a clumping plant rather than a running plant, and some of them do run a little bit or a lot depending on which one it is, but this one clumps. And it likes full sun, it likes partial shade. This position is partial shade, unfussy about soil, and the main thing is the leaves. I mean, just look at those fantastic mottled three-toned leaves. It makes a fabulous addition to any kind of jungle or tropical planting, and that's the reason why this one is just up there as one of my favourites. I'm going to put the hardiness zones for all of the plants I mentioned on the screen, so you won't have to look them up. And now, Jeanette, back to you.
Persicaria, I don't have any of that, but I do have in my blue section my wonderful PICEA pungens Hoopsii. Now, I only planted this a couple of months ago, maybe about February, when I was looking for blue plants for my garden. It's also called a Colorado spruce, and it's in a bottomless pot in my garden. Eventual height can be 3.5 meters by 1.25 meters wide, but it's very slow growing. It's fully hardy. It likes full sun or partial shade, so it's very, very good in most locations. It's got spectacular silver blue waxy needle-like leaves, which it keeps all year. So it will look lovely in the winter when there's not much else going on in the garden. So that's my PICEA pungens Hoopsii. Rachel, what do you have in your blue category?
Wow, what a fantastic colour and texture. I love texture on plants, so gorgeous. Now, in terms of blue, my favourite is this sub-shrub here behind me with the glaucous foliage. Now, this is Melianthus major, and normally it would be tall. It would be like taller than me, or the height of me, 5'2" again. But because last winter was particularly hard, it's been knocked back. Now, when we say evergreen sub-shrub, that doesn't equate exactly in my climate, because usually, well, in a bad winter like last year, it dies back completely. Sometimes the leaves remain through the winter, but not last year. And when it does die back completely, then I need to cut it to the ground and up it comes again. So it just takes a little bit of a while to get going. But it's a fantastic thing for a full sun or semi-shaded position. It needs well-drained soil, fussy, unfussy really, except for that just slight tenderness. Now, the leaves on this, the pinnate leaves in their glaucous colour, are just fantastic, and they too add a bit of texture. I guess with the two of us, blue is not just about the colour, but it's about the texture as well, and this makes a fantastic backdrop to more colourful and eye-catching flowering plants. So now, Jeanette, what do you have to show me for our next colour?
Now we're going to green, and green for me, you can't go wrong, I don't think, with these. Sedum Autumn Joy, and I have a few. I have one here, I have one just there, and I have another one over there in the distance. They grow to about 1/2 metre high, and they'll also be 1/2 metre wide. They're a perennial, so they die back every year, and they grow back with the tiniest of little new leaves, which very quickly grow into this beautiful mound. They like slightly alkaline soil. They're fully hardy. They don't like fertiliser or too much water. From the summer onto the autumn, they have green buds which turn to a rich pink, and then eventually they'll fade to a brownish colour. And the flowers are quite large, and you can leave them up all winter long, which will be beautiful winter interest for your garden.
I absolutely agree with you, Jeanette, about Sedum Autumn Joy. It really is a fantastic joy. And did you know that the leaves are actually edible too? I know this because, oh my goodness, my husband is such a foodie and he keeps pulling the leaves off my poor plants. But do you think he'd do it in May time when they're due the Chelsea chop? No, no way. Anyway, the wonderful green foliage plants, the backbone of our gardens. And for my favourite, I've chosen the fantastic Tetrapanax rex, which is this small tree you see behind us here. Now, when I say a small tree, you have to remember, I think mine must be 15 years in the ground. They take a long time to get this tall, but even still, it is a small tree. I'm going to go over there and I'm going to stand behind it or in front of it just to give you an idea of the size. And as we go, I'm going to tell you what I absolutely love about this plant. And it's got to be the fantastic pinnate leaves. They really give a tropical jungle feel, and you can see that it's here over our stone table, so it provides a kind of shaded canopy when we're out here eating or playing board games or something like that. And of course, with a name like T-Rex, every kid or grandkid that comes to the garden absolutely loves it and wants to hear the story about how it was a primordial plant. Of course it wasn't. It's not that old at all, but it really is a fantastic addition to the garden. And there is one drawback, and many people talk about how this plant is a runner, and it does run. It absolutely does run. Now, as you can see, I have it planted where there's grass around, which is a great way to get rid of runners because they pop up in the grass gets mowed, that's the end of them. You can also pick the runners out of the flower beds, which I do regularly. They come out easily, but if you're the kind of person who doesn't weed their beds regularly, then I would say this isn't the plant for you, because if you leave them, then they get a bit big and then they're harder to get out. But certainly this is my absolute favourite, perhaps. It's certainly my favourite small tree. It's a wonderful thing that I'm delighted to have in my garden. It's quite hardy for me. In a bad winter, the leaves die back, and that's what happened this year, which is why it's very defoliated. Normally there'd be more leaves, but in most winters it maintains the green foliage and just looks fantastic. So that's why I choose T-Rex as my favourite green leafed plant. Okay, Jeanette, what colour are we on to now? Let's see what you got.
Well, I love your Tetrapanax, Rachel. We're moving on now to the silvers. And the silver for me, the stunners of my garden are these. They're Brunnera. They're a mound of heart-shaped, rough textured, silvery leaves. They have, as you can see, tiny, pretty blue flowers in clusters in the spring. They're slug and snail resistant, which is wonderful for me in my garden. They like any pH soils, and then they like full or partial shade, which is perfect for those areas where you might struggle to find something else to plant. Absolutely stunning.
I am so glad to have found someone who loves Brunneras as much as I do. They are such a versatile plant, especially for a shady spot. They just make it zig. Now, I've also chosen a silver leafed foliage plant, but it's one for full sun or dappled shade, which is where we're in today. And my plant is an Artemisia or wormwood called Valerie Finis. And isn't she gorgeous? Look how luminous that colour is, absolutely wonderful. And what I love about silver foliage plants, and this one in particular, is how good it looks next to red or purple foliage plants, such as the Persicaria red dragon that I mentioned just a little while ago. The two, well, I think they should just get married and live happily ever after, which is, I hope, is what they'll do in my garden anyway. Anyway, wormwood or Artemisia, I think it has a bit of a bad reputation because sometimes they get very woody, and once they get woody it's hard to bring them back. But that's not the case with Valerie finis. It just doesn't suffer from that problem at all, and you can cut it or you cannot cut it. But what I really love about it is how it just holds itself up, especially if you have it in well drained or even stony soil, which is what I have here. So I guess if you have lush soil it might be a bit more floppy and you might need a bit of staking. If it does flop, I just cut off those spikes that are near the edge, and it just goes on then, bringing magnificent colour into the garden all through the summer. It does flower, but the flowers are insignificant and I usually just cut them off. Can't be bothered with that. So yeah, Valerie finis, my favourite silver-leafed foliage. And now I think we're on to variegated plants, which I absolutely love, one of my favourites, and I can't wait to see what you have for me, Jeanette.
You're giving me a big shopping list, Rachel, which is fun because it's nice to see and get some good ideas. This is my category of variegated. This is something that I was looking for a long time, and I finally was delighted when I found this. It is a Petunia, pink crispy, very tiny at the moment, but eventual height 1.7 metres high by 1 metre wide. It likes full sun or partial shade. It likes all pHs. So pretty. It's average to fast growing. It flowers in April to May. Although this one hasn't flowered for me this year, but it's only newly planted. It's an evergreen, so it will keep its beautiful marbled green and cream leaves all year long. The new foliage, as you can see, is bright pink. That's what attracted me to it. And to encourage more bright young leaves, late spring or summer, you can shorten the stems up to 6 inches just above an outward facing bud. So I'm very excited. As you can see, it's quite tiny at the moment, but I'm very excited to hopefully see this fill in this whole area, and then my rose will be at the back behind it, which I'm hoping will be a very attractive little area. So Rachel, what is one of your favourite variegateds in your garden?
That is one of the things I absolutely love about collabs. You always hear about plants that aren't on your radar, and I can certainly say that Petunia wasn't until now, but now it definitely is. Variegated plants, what is not to love? And of course variegated plants can be variegated in many ways, but the one I've chosen for you today is one that loves full sun, and it has silver and green variegation, and it's this fantastic euphorbia right here. Now with euphorbias, what's not to love? It's an enormous group that covers everything from cactuses to perfectly garden worthy plants like this one here. This one is called Glacier Blue, but there are other lovely ones out there. Tasmanian Tiger is a good one, and I'm sure there are others as well. It is a plant, as I mentioned, that likes full sun, a well-drained soil and space. So you do need to give this one space. If you don't, if it gets crowded out by other plants, then soon you'll realise you don't have it anymore, and you certainly don't want that with something as glorious as this. And of course it will amply take that space and make it its own and make the whole area just sing with gorgeousness, which is why I grow these fantastic euphorbias. So now I'm getting sad because we're nearing the end of our collab, and I believe we're about to move on to yellow-leaved plants. And Jeanette, let me know which one you've chosen.
Well, yes, I do have to agree. Euphorbias are just lovely. I have a couple of euphorbias in mine, but we're going over now to the yellow category, and my yellows are my new beautiful PICEA glauca daisies white, and I've only just planted these and they're just so delightful. Their eventual height is 1.5 metres by 1 metre wide, but they're very, very slow growing. They like full sun and they do enjoy slightly acidic soil. They've got feathery leaves, really pretty feathery leaves, and they start off, as you can see, in the spring as a pale cream. They turn yellow, then they'll go a richer green later on in the season. They're great for small gardens and rockeries and containers. Rachel, what do you have for your yellow section?
Again, you've gone for wonderful texture in your choice, Jeanette. I just love it. And on to my favourite yellow, or let's be posh and say gold foliage plant. And it has got to be this fantastic Hemerocallis or daylily here. Now normally we grow daylilies for the flowers, and this one does flower reliably, but the reason why I grow it is for the wonderful foliage, yellow and green as it comes up in spring. It just looks wonderful breaking through the soil, and of course next to something that has a dark red foliage like this Ligularia, it just makes a fantastic combination. Okay, it's variegated. I cheated a bit. It's not pure yellow, but the predominant feeling when you look at it is that it is yellow. Of course, as a daylily, you should grow it in full sun, and it needs kind of moist but well-drained soil, and this one has just done so well. I would say it's not incredibly vigorous, but yeah, I mean, it's a sturdy doer. Golden Zebra is the name, and I absolutely love it and wouldn't be without it. And that brings me to the end of my choices for this part of the collab over here on your channel, Jeanette. Thank you very much for having me. I've loved it so much. And I now invite all of you to come over to my channel to see my other 6 choices, but also to see Jeanette's other 6 choices. So thank you for having me, and I will see you on the other side.
Well, I certainly have new plants that I'd like to find after seeing all Rachel's choices, and I hope that we've given you some good ideas on our choices of foliage plants covering all the different sections of colours that you can have in your garden. So please head over now, if you haven't already done so, to Gardening at Douentza and see Rachel's beautiful garden in Ireland, where you'll see another set of choices from me and another set of choices from Rachel. In the meantime, I'm Jeanette, I'm the Enthusiastic Gardener. Thank you so much for joining me today. Have a wonderful week, and I'll see you again next time. Thanks for watching. Bye.